Wisconsin Eye's 2014 election coverage is brought to you by the Wisconsin Hospital Association. For over 90 years, a valued voice for Wisconsin hospitals, supporting high-quality, high-value care in communities like yours.
Wisconsin Eye is at the Milwaukee Public Library interviewing candidates in the 2014 elections. We're interviewing Cody Horlacher of McWanago. He's a Republican candidate in the 33rd Assembly District. Cody, welcome to Wisconsin Eye.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate your time. Just
as programming note, Wisconsin Eye appreciates the support of the Wisconsin Hospital Association, which represents more than 139 hospitals and health systems, for making these candidate interviews possible. Cody, first run for public office. I know you're a recent graduate of law school. Kind of give us the short summary of your bio and why you are running for the Assembly.
Sure, absolutely. Right now I'm an assistant district attorney in Walworth County. I graduated from Marquette Law School earlier this summer. And I went to UW-Whitewater for business. Grew up in the area. I was originally in Steve Nass's district, the one that I'm running to take over in the fall here. After redistricting, most of my family is in the 32nd now, but that's all right. I won't hold it against them. I've been a lifelong Republican, served almost a decade now within the Republican cause, serving as a secretary, vice chair, and chairman of Walworth County's Republican Party, and have worked closely with organizations in Rock, Jefferson, and Waukesha counties in that time.
Is there any one or two issues that you consider the central reasons you're running?
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly the economy. If I'm elected to the two-year term, the two things that I want to work on most are, number one, working with small businesses in the area in order to strengthen those that are here and create opportunities and reward those that take the risk in order to try and create those opportunities within the district for those that want to open up their own shops. Particularly in Jefferson and Fort Atkinson, a lot of small businesses have gone out in the last 10 years. And we need to look at what we're doing as a state in order to create the environment necessary in order to reward those that take the risk and create the value-driven opportunities for folks in our district. The second thing that I want to work on if I'm elected is working with area high schools and tech programs in order to strengthen the vocational programs that we have in the area. You know, the skilled trades are a great opportunity for kids to avoid 4+ years of college debt, and I think that we need to create the alternatives for students going forward to that. And I know, you know, coming from somebody that graduated from law school and college, it's going to sound hypocritical because I know I own my own share of that outstanding college debt. But, you know, I knew that going into it, and I knew that that's what I wanted to pursue. You know, I think in today's world, a lot of students just feel the pressure to go to college because either all their friends are doing it or they don't know the other alternatives that there are. And I want to work with those area schools in order to advocate and create awareness for those students so that, you know, they can find their niche and create those opportunities and get those jobs that they're going to be able to support not only themselves but a family in the district. And I think the last thing that we need is to have a shortage of jobs in the area, that people are leaving the area and the state because they can't find employment in those positions that would be able to afford them the opportunity to raise a family in the district.
Let's talk about K-12 issues first. Two questions. What's your position on private school and vouchers? Because a central issue in the next budget will be whether to keep the 1,000 cap on school choice. So your position on school choice and vouchers?
I firmly believe in school choice and the voucher program, and I believe that it is necessary in order for parents to make those decisions. Just like students in high schools, as I was talking about earlier with the vocational programs, everybody needs to make their own decisions, and I think that it needs to be a priority for parents where they send their children to get the best education going forward, and let them decide. If parents are truly vested in their children's education and their future, they're the ones that are going to make the best decisions in what's going to benefit their kids going forward, and they need those options in order to be successful.
Do you think that 1,000 limit on choice students statewide should be taken off in the next budget?
Well, you know, that's something that I'm going to have to certainly research more as far as what the policy implications are going forward, if we reduce that or not. But I think overall, my central message to my campaign is certainly the free market. And I believe that any time that you create those opportunities and give the parents the choice, you know, as freely as possible within the market, that's always a good thing, because that's going to create the competitions at the local levels in order to produce a better product.
Having done dozens of these interviews, Common Core is emerging as an issue. Do you support those new standards, sir?
No, I do not support Common Core. I believe that students need to be held to standards, but I don't think we need common sense to get in the way of Common Core. I believe that if we look nationally at the Common Core agenda and what it's done when it's been in state schools, you know, those schools, or those states rather, that have implemented Common Core are pulling out. States like Florida, Kentucky, and New York. I mean, you got the red, blue, and purple spectrum there are pulling out because of the reduced standards within standardized testing. And, you know, if you create an environment that everyone's the same, there's no competitive advantage, and you're not setting a floor for standards, you're setting a ceiling that nobody's going to be able to rise above. And that's where, if you give the power back to the municipalities in order to set those common sense standards and allow them the opportunity to hold their students responsible in whatever fashion they believe necessary, parents are going to be the ones in the best position to make the choice of where to send their kids and what school district is going to best benefit not only their children, but their children's future going forward. And that's what, you know, that's what I firmly believe in.
A question on health care. As you know, the federal government said we'll pay for it if states like Wisconsin expand their MA health care benefits. Yeah. Governor Walker and the leaders of the Assembly and Senate said thanks but no thanks. Was that the right decision?
I believe so, because not only is it unsound fiscal policy to borrow, but you're not only borrowing as a state, but nationally, and that's not a good fiscal policy no matter where you are on the spectrum. You need to make sure that what you spend, you have coming in the door. And if we were to take the federal funding, it would all be borrowed dollars. Now, I read in an area paper, I won't name names, but that it would benefit Wisconsinites because the cost of those dollars that were coming in from the federal government would be spread out over the 50 states. Well, that's borrowed money from all 50 states, and I don't think that we need to be robbing from our neighbors in Minnesota and Iowa, Illinois, and farther out just to try and benefit us. That's selfish, and that's not a good fiscal policy going forward. 33rd
District, which you're trying to represent, is fairly rural area. It's sprawling. So here's my question on transportation.
It's beautiful.
I understand. There's a projected $650 million deficit over the next 2 years in transportation funding. How would you make that up?
Well, that's one of the things, you know, as I'm going forward, I'm trying to look at where we're spending as a state, where we can look to make those transitions to consolidate what we need to and effectively use the resources that we have, because on the state level, you know, resources are scarce, whether it's tax dollars, you know, capital as far as you know, labor, or even just what we have for salting our roads, right? I mean, resources everywhere are scarce, and we need to make sure that we're using those effectively in order to deal with that. And in doing a few other interviews, I've been questioned on what sort of tax increase I would propose, and I don't know that that's necessary. I believe that we need to look at how we efficiently use those resources and how we effectively deal with that before we look to dipping into the taxpayer's pocket, because I don't think that's, again, the best policy going forward.
Same-sex marriage has been in the news with Judge Crabb's ruling, and now the Attorney General has gone to the Court of Appeals. Mm-hmm. Your reaction to Judge Crabb's ruling?
Well, I believe that, Wisconsinites voted overwhelmingly in 2006 for that marriage amendment, and I respect the power of the voter's voice, and I believe that that needs to be upheld. Other than that, I believe that it'll be the court's decision that makes that.
As an assistant DA for Walworth County, you must have a position. 2 candidates for Attorney General say first offense OWI, drunken driving, should be a crime. What's your position?
I don't know. This issue is particularly close to me, given that my grandmother actually was killed by a drunk driver. Oh. And I don't know that necessarily that the first OWI is a criminal offense, particularly working within the DA's office and handling drunk driving files. I believe there's a lot of folks that either go to a wedding reception or graduation party, and have that one drink too many and make the wrong decision to get in the car, and they don't they don't make any other mistake besides getting behind the wheel of the car. It's different if they injure somebody or if they get into an accident, but the totality of the circumstances on OWI first, I think, need to be considered overall. I do support harder sentencings and penalties for folks going forward after that first, though, because, like I said, I believe that folks make mistakes and they need to be dealt with accordingly that way. But I don't know that everybody that picks up one OWI is necessarily a criminal. And I don't know that taxpayer resources would be used efficiently if we criminalized OWI firsts, because it takes a lot of money to go through the court systems, and if we criminalize OWI first, we're going to have that many more people through the system taking up court costs, and in some cases filling our jails in order to, if they can't make bail, filling our jails in order to get that next court date.
There are calls, as you're aware, in both Washington and Madison to raise the minimum wage. Your position on that?
I don't believe that raising the minimum wage is a sound fiscal policy, because I believe that if it costs employers more to do business, they're going to cut down on what they're doing, and they're not going to be able to expand or create those other opportunities for other folks. And I don't, some estimates have, if we raise the minimum wage, we're actually going to be putting more people on the public welfare rolls than anything. And from that standpoint, I wouldn't support a increase in the minimum wage.
Okay. We've talked about some other issues. Let me ask you this. Since you're working as a Walworth County's ADA,
yeah.
Does the criminal justice system have the tools? What are some of the emerging issues that you've learned about, given your current job?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, heroin is huge, first and foremost. We've seen an uptick, particularly in the last 10 to 15 years on that, and the stuff's becoming more pure. And speaking from Walworth County, I think the District Attorney Nacy is doing a great job as far as cracking down on those that are dealing and doling out harsher sentences and advocating for harsher sentences. And I think that the court system also in Walworth County is certainly taking that approach to it as well.
What's the key, though, to get young people, well, anybody, to not sample?
Yeah, heroin. Absolutely. It's all about awareness, and the earlier that you can reach people is key. When I was going through school in 5th grade, we did the DARE program, and I think that was a great program. It's not gonna be the silver bullet that catches everybody and stops everybody from trying it initially. But even if you stop, any percent, I think that's effective, and that is an effective use of resources.
Okay. Finally, it's a 3-way primary on August 12th.
Yep.
Want to give you a chance, if you want to highlight any differences between you and your opponents.
Sure.
In the primary.
Well, first and foremost, I'm about half the age of my 2 opponents, so I believe that given that I have a vested interest in making sure that this state and that this district is in the best viable option going forward for not only my family, hopefully one day if I'm fortunate to have kids, but going forward, the policies that I'm advocating for, I'm going to have to live with going forward for hopefully a long time. And so that, I think that's important for folks to take away, that I certainly am aware of the implications of what I'm advocating for going forward, and need to make sure that what we do is in the best interests of the district and of the state. Further, I think that my background, not only with a business degree from UW-Whitewater, go Warhawks, and Marquette, go Golden Eagles, with a law degree, certainly gives me a unique perspective in the state, would be a unique perspective in the state assembly, given that the two major things that representatives deal with on a daily basis are the state budget and state laws. And given my current capacity, I work with state statutes on a daily basis. I understand how difficult sometimes certain statutes can be to read, particularly for somebody that doesn't come from that doesn't have a law degree. And I think that state statutes need to be accessible enough to anybody that even if you don't have a law degree, even if you went no farther than the 6th grade, you should be able to understand what's expected of you. Additionally, with the state budget and that, my background, I went for marketing and minor in economics at Whitewater. I think that will serve me well if I'm elected as a representative for the people of the 33rd to realize what needs to be done and what's in the best interest of those folks.
Thank you. Cody Horlacher of McGuanago is a Republican candidate in the 33rd Assembly District. The primary is August 12th. Cody, thanks for talking to Wisconsin Eye.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.